Hi, how are you doing? Now in this video you're going to learn about classes. Okay, so in JavaScript previously there was no official classes in JavaScript. So what we could do is we could create a function and add methods on that function object, okay, using the prototype. So one thing you should know that in JavaScript functions are objects. Whenever you create an object, the prototype object is also created behind the scene. So using this prototype we could create something like class. Okay, so this is how we would do previously. So let's do it so we get better understanding of how classes works in JavaScript. Okay, so let's create this simple function. Let's call it holiday. Let's make it capital. Function holiday, and let's say it will take two arguments, destination and let's say days. Okay, now we could refer using this keyword, this destination. So this destination equals to destination, this days equals to days. Okay, so this is a function we have here. Now what we could do is we could add a method to this function using prototype. So what you could do, you could say holiday dot prototype. Okay, access this holiday functions prototype object and add info into it. So this is a function, and this function could do something. For example, let's console log. Let's say this, then destination plus, let's use this pipe symbol, plus this days plus days. Okay, so let's try using this variable. Let's say Nepal equals to, let's create a new instance of it, new holiday. Okay, and we can pass the arguments. Say Nepal is the destination and days, let's say 30. Okay, so console log Nepal, and we want to access the method info, right, out of Nepal. So we create a function, we added this method to this function, and we create a new instance of it, and then we console log and we access this new functions, this method. Okay, so let's save, give it a try. Let's make sure it's smaller, save. Okay, so Nepal 30 days. Okay, so this is how you would add method to the function object, right? Now there's a better way of creating classes in ES6, so let's give that a try. Let's get rid of this. So let's create this class holiday. Okay, now before we add any properties or methods, let's see how it works. Let's console log this holiday class. Okay, so we get this object. Okay, that's expected, but now we're not going to use prototype like we did before. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use the constructor. Okay, so what is constructor? Just to make you understand what is constructor, I'm going to use console log holiday dot prototype. Okay, so like I told you earlier, when we create a function, this prototype object is created behind the scene. Now even though this is a class, this is technically a function behind the scene, and in JavaScript functions are objects. Okay, so let's give it a try. Let's see what it holds. Holiday.prototype. Let's save, let's refresh, and as you can see we have this object with constructor. Okay, so it can take the arguments. So constructor, that's how it works. So it is part of the prototype object that is created behind the scene and ready for us to use. What we can do is we can call this constructor inside this class and set the properties. Okay, so what you can do is constructor. Now inside here what we can say is we can first, it will take the arguments destination and days just like we did earlier, and we can set this destination equals to destination and this days equals to days. Okay, so whenever we create a new instance of this holiday using the new keyword and pass in the arguments, that will be available here, and this class, this constructor method will set the arguments as property to this class. Okay, now once we have the properties, we can also add more methods. So let's say we have info method, and this will simply console log. Let's use this backtick. Okay, let's say this destination will take this days. Okay, so this is how we can create a class. We add properties, we add methods. Now we can use this class as many times as we need. For example, let's create const trip equals to new using this new keyword. Let's instantiate this class new holiday, and let's give it an argument. Let's say Nepal. Let's give actually Kathmandu, Nepal, and then the days, let's give 30. Okay, now we can see console log trip, and we want to access its method info, right? Let's invoke this here. Let's save, go here, refresh. Kathmandu, Nepal will take 30 days. Okay, so this is how we can create classes in ES6. Use the constructor to set the properties, and we add methods like so, and we can reuse it using this new keyword. We can instantiate as many times as we need. Now let's go one step further and let's see how we can extend from one class to another. Okay, so children class can extend from parent class so that all these properties and methods from the parent class are available to the children class when the children extends to this parent class. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Let's get rid of this. So we have this class. Let's treat it as super class or parent class. Okay, let's just comment here, and then the children class, we can name them subclass. Okay, so they are known as superclass and subclass. Okay, so let's create another class that will extend from holiday. So let's say class expedition extends holiday. Okay, so the first thing we can do is we can call the constructor. So it will take the argument of destination, days, and as well as let's add one more thing. Let's add some gear as well. Okay, so that's the whole point of we are extending, because we want to add this gear property. Okay, so what we can do is we don't need to say again this destination, this days, because we are extending from this class. So these properties are available here because it's extending. So all we need to do is super and then destination and then days. So what's happening here is we are calling the super class, the parent class, and passing the arguments to the parent class. So they will be processed here. When we instantiate this expedition class, we will get the arguments of destination, days, and gear, but destination and days, we are passing it to parent for the handling. So in other classical object-oriented languages, you would you would use parent keyword. In JavaScript, this is how you do, use this super. Okay, so constructor, the super, pass it to the super class, and this class, this expedition, will only handle the gear. Okay, so it will set the gear property to on its own. Now we can still access the info method from the parent class, the super class holiday, right? So what we can do is we can use this and here we can access this super info. So this method, exactly the way it outputs, so we can use that, and we can also add our own console log. Okay, so this is how we can override the method we're extending from the parent. So we still using this info method, but we are overriding. So we taking everything there is, it is outputting, we using that, and we are adding additional information as well. So console log, let's say bring your gears as well. So what we can do, let's use this backticks, bring your this gear, and what we can do is we can join. Okay, so let's join this gear dot, let's use this join method, okay, with and here. Okay, now let's try this const, let's create a new instance of this new expedition. Let's name it const trip with gear. Okay, so let's say new expedition, and let's give the arguments. So the arguments, the first one will be the destination, let's say Everest, and days, let's say 30, and then let's say we pass in the gear, the array of items, okay, as our gear. So let's say sunglasses, let's say flags, let's say camera. So this is the superclass. This subclass is extending the superclass, and we instantiating it here. Let's trip with gear dot info. Let's try accessing this method. So let's give it a try. Okay, so Everest will take 30 days. So that is the output of this parent info class, info method. And we also added bring your sunglasses and your flags and your camera. Okay, so these are the gears we added. So when we instantiate this new class, we get whatever it inherits from the parent as well as new console log. Okay, so the point here is this is how we can create a class in ES6. We can, another subclass can extend, and we still set the constructor. We use a super to access the superclass or the parent class. Okay, and this is how we work with classes in ES6. Okay, so now this is important because this is how you would be working in React. Okay, you would be setting the constructor properties, super properties, and that's how you will go. You will add the methods like so. All right, so with this you would be very comfortable getting started with React.